Harry's Wife, Part 101.40, Wales versus Sussex. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As part of my education of you all, with regard to narcissism, I take various aspects of narcissism, the narcissistic dynamic, the behaviour of narcissists, the way we select our victims, the way that we interact with our victims, information about the victims, the types that we go for, and the things that you can do. I often utilise examples involving famous or infamous people, and of course, Harry's Wife is regularly used because there's just so much material about her, generated by her, with regard to PR puff pieces and her need to assert control through them, and also because the media has a huge interest in her. I always allow you to make your own mind up as to the veracity of the material. It's not for me to tell you. You can work it out for yourselves. I then provide an analysis based upon that content. And I turn to a recent article by Mary K. Linger from the New York Post, which provides us with some further insight into the dynamic between Harry's wife and her sister-in-law, the Princess of Wales, who is, of course, a non-intimate secondary source in Harry's wife's fuel matrix. If you'd like to understand more about how a narcissist constitutes the fuel matrix and what all of this means, I direct you to two of my excellent books, Pipelines and Fuel, both of which can be obtained in the Knowledge Vault, link in the video description. The article tells us Prince William, Harry lead cousins in vigil for Queen Elizabeth amid wives' tensions. As Britain's battling royal brothers, Prince William and Prince Harry, led their cousins in a rare family ceremony last Saturday to honour their grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, the drama between the warring wives of Windsor, Kate Middleton, and Harry's wife, simmered behind the scenes. Now, before any of you start getting your panties in a bunch or getting a bit worked up and bent out of shape, I'm simply reading from the article when they refer to the Princess of Wales as Kate Middleton. All right? No need to bang on about it in the comments. Insiders are buzzing over the obvious tensions among the once close foursome, whose grievances appear to be on the brink of bursting to the surface in the wake of the Queen's death. They had the late Queen there as a buffer, royal watcher Martin Townsend told the Telegraph, but now that buffer has gone. The two sons of King Charles III, both in full military dress per their father's wishes, arrived in separate cars for the solemn vigil of the Prince's ceremony at Westminster Hall. They entered the hall in single file, with the new Prince of Wales in the lead, and marched down a marble flight of stairs to stand at the head and the foot of their grandmother's casket for the 15-minute salute. It was the first time that Harry, the Duke of Sussex, has been seen in his formal military uniform since he quit royal life in 2020 and moved to California with his wife. Flanking the princes on either side of the catafalque stood the rest of the Queen's grandchildren, Zara Tyndall and Peter Phillips, the children of Princess Anne, Prince Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, and Lady Louise Windsor and James, Viscount Severn, the teenage offspring of Prince Edward. The black-clad cousins walked in 2 by 2 behind the two princes, then stood with heads bowed, as members of the public silently filed past. William led the group as they departed, with Harry bringing up the rear, and, with Kate and Harry's wife, nowhere to be seen. The king's sons and their wives have struck a brittle public truce in recent days as the brothers mourn their beloved granny. Last week, William invited the Sussexes to Windsor Castle for an hour-long walkabout to thank the crowds that had gathered there to offer sympathy. The joint appearances take effort, a friend of both brothers told the Sunday Times of London. There was an understanding that we need to show solidarity, not just we need to do this because it's our duty, but I don't think it goes much beyond that. Body language experts allege that the frosty relationship among the formerly close foursome, which turned downright icy after Harry's wife's bombshell 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, showed little sign of warming during the stroll, as Kate, the new Princess of Wales, appeared to look daggers at her American sister-in-law. They feel that Oprah crossed a line and that someone should acknowledge the motives behind it and the pain it caused, a friend of Kate and William said. They feel they've had to be steely to send a message that you cannot just say this hugely upsetting stuff without there being consequences. Well, actually, the friend of Kate and William is missing the point that the Prince and Princess of Wales have been appropriately advised as to how to deal with Harry's wife. And what you saw at the Windsor Walkabout and the other events is a manifestation of that advice. Excellent advice, naturally. Meanwhile, the Sussexes are said to be seething over reports that their young children, Archie and Lilibet, will not be granted His and Her Royal Highness titles, and while Harry has reportedly delayed the publication of his memoir as he weighs possible revisions out of respect for the late Queen, the looming tell-all has the royal family on edge. The trust is gone right now, one insider told The Telegraph. It's really hard to spend time with someone, or even to speak openly, when you know they're writing a book about you and giving interviews. President Joe Biden headed to London, yada yada yada, talk about the dignitaries and so on and so forth. Many people thought that the appearances were done as a show of unity. They were not. It was done as part of ensuring that Harry and Harry's wife A, knew their place, and B, were kept in place, as a part of the advices that were received. It was done as a necessity of letting them know that you are actually here by our grace and favour, and you better understand that. They, of course, look suitably cowed in the Windsor Walkabout, which I've analysed elsewhere. With regard to the situation of Wales versus Sussex, the problem arises is that Harry is led by his nose, or possibly by little Harry, as a consequence of the grip that his wife has over him. Harry's wife wants William, and therefore sees William as her prize, and cannot accept the fact that the Princess of Wales got there first. This is why the Princess of Wales has the status of nemesis to Harry's wife, and finds herself repeatedly painted black. She embodies everything that Harry's wife believes that she is, believing that she's elegant, magnetic, kind, empathic, and, of course, married to William, and will ultimately become queen. Harry's wife cannot stand the fact that she ended up with the spare, and although during the golden period her narcissism allowed her to gloss over the fact that she was basically getting the second one, and leverage that as much as possible, when he's in sustained devaluation, that's where Harry finds himself, her narcissism repeatedly reminds her of the fact that she basically got the spare, and therefore that someone of her status, her standing, her ability ought really to be with Prince William. I do not doubt there will have been instances where she will have made eyes at William. We've seen the footage and the pictures where she has done so, and that will have undoubtedly continued behind the scenes. William wised up to her pretty quickly. We all remember his behaviour with the scarf, which he found sudden interest in adjusting his scarf in order to avoid having anything to do with her. William isn't drawn in. He's a normal and has no addiction to the narcissist. He doesn't necessarily understand, or at least didn't understand, that he was dealing with a narcissist, but he recognised that the behaviours weren't right. If you recall, he made mention to his brother about taking his time with the relationship. He saw that something was rotten. Following on from this, following certain advices, he understands now what he's dealing with and understands what that requires. Similarly, so does his wife. They will keep a considerable distance from the Sussexes. You can see there is no warmth, and they suffered their presence. However, they dealt with it masterfully, maintaining a near-total no-contact approach with them, standing beside them but not looking at them, barely engaging with them, and certainly not the Princess of Wales. And as I mentioned in my video, the Princess of Wales slays Harry's wife. The grey-rocking behaviour that she engaged in, where she had no alternative, was most effective. Ordinarily, grey-rocking is not something that can be done for a long time. It's to be used in short bursts and where there's only no other option It'd be far better, as I mentioned in the video, to walk away. There's not going to be any reconciliation between the Sussexes and the Wales, not so long as Harry's wife remains on the scene. The information that has been provided to the Waleses will cause them to ensure that they maintain a distance, and that they will, of course, be mentioning this to other members of the family to ensure that they follow suit. The Battle of Windsor that took place at the walkabout was roundly won by the Waleses. You can see that with regard to the reactions of Harry and his wife. The war will continue. Harry's wife will attempt to fight back, and she'll probably do the usual, the indirect assertion of control from abroad, throwing brickbats towards the royal family still. She'll start off with sympathy symphonies and pity plays about how badly she's been treated and how she wanted everything to be healed. Of course, glossing over completely that she was the architect of all of the problems. But her narcissism, of course, never ever lets her see that way. There will be no immediate reconciliation between the Wales and the Sussexes, and I doubt that it will ever happen whilst Harry's wife is on the scene. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.